We live in interesting times.
For the headlines.
The U.S. Senate unanimously adopted legislation supporting human rights and democracy in Hong Kong and threatening to revoke its special economic status.
A U.S. Army officer and key impeachment witness saw his loyalty called into question by Republicans as he testified that President Donald Trump made inappropriate demands on his Ukrainian counterpart for dirt on rival Democrats.
Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte admitted that he cannot fully trust Vice President Leni Robredo because he does not know her well since she belongs to the opposition.
What is the
And Boris Johnson and Jeremy Corbyn face off in the first televised debate of the 2019 UK general election.
Extension in which he would negotiate.
I'm Alma Angeles, wherever you're watching from around the world. Thank you very much for joining us.
We welcome our viewers here in the Philippines and around the world. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sam Cepeda.
And now to the news. The U.S. Senate unanimously adopted legislation supporting human rights and democracy in Hong Kong and threatening to revoke its special economic status. Now that angered China, which promptly summoned a U.S. diplomat and threatened countermeasures. The lawmakers also approved a measure that would ban the sale of tear gas, rubber bullets, and other equipment that have been used by security forces to suppress pro-democracy protests for nearly 6 months now. The Senate sent a clear message to Hong Kongers fighting for their long-cherished freedoms. We hear you, we continue to stand with you, and we will not stand idly by as Beijing undermines your autonomy, according to Republican Senator Marco Rubio. Passage of the bill marks an important step in holding accountable those Chinese and Hong Kong government officials responsible for Hong Kong's eroding economy and human rights violations, he said. The Senate's Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act would require the U.S. President to annually review the favorable trade status that Washington grants to Hong Kong. It also mandates sanctions against Hong Kong and Chinese officials who commit human rights abuses, including extrajudicial rendition. Chinese Vice Foreign Minister Ma Xiaozhu summoned the acting U.S. Charge of Affairs William Klein to lodge a strong protest and demanded the U.S. prevent the bill from becoming a law. U.S. Ambassador Terry Branstad was out of the country. Otherwise, the Chinese side will take strong measures to resolutely counter it, and the U.S. side must bear all the consequences, according to a Chinese statement. China had also reacted angrily when the U.S. House of Representatives passed a similar measure last month. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Geng Shuang said the U.S. purpose was to support the extremists and violent elements against China that are trying to mess up Hong Kong, and realize, he said, their sinister plot to hinder China's development by taking advantage of the Hong Kong issue.
Some exhausted pro-democracy protesters are looking for a way to get out campus without being caught by the police, and others are launching an SOS to help them. Dozens of pro-democracy protesters remained holed up inside a besieged Hong Kong University campus for a fourth straight day.
Food, water is not enough. Maybe if more 1 week, they will use all the water and food. They will die because they don't give it out. They don't let me out. They don't ask. Some people want to go out but cannot. So we did SOS. So many people don't do anything. They should not do that. You know, just cook or clean, just helping people. Why they should be stupid?
And I think by defining what had happened outside as riots and define every single one present in the campus to be rioters and be part of it, is a very careless, irresponsible definition. But I still have trust in our Hong Kong legal system that is different from China because it's common law system. We believe in and we trust in rule of law. So if this is the case, I surrender myself. In a way, I should not say surrender myself, but I abide by the law and I'll let the legal system to define actually what had happened with my involvement.
Hong Kong Chief Executive Carrie Lam called Tuesday for the protesters to surrender, adding that those over 18 would face rioting charges, but minors would not be arrested. Police said that since the siege began, around 800 people had left the campus as of late Tuesday night. The protests in Hong Kong were sparked by a now abandoned extradition bill that would have allowed people to be sent to mainland China for trial. More than 1 million people marched through the streets in opposition to the bill, but as the week have turned into months, the movement has evolved into a broader campaign for democracy, including universal suffrage and an independent inquiry into alleged police brutality.
We've been following with deepening concern the situation in Hong Kong, the Special Administrative Region, over the past few months, and we're gravely concerned about the increasing violence by groups of young people engaging in the protests who are clearly very angry with deep-seated grievances. With regard to the current situation at the Hong Kong Polytechnic University, we urge the authorities to do all they can to de-escalate the situation, to address the humanitarian situation of those inside, which is clearly deteriorating, and facilitate a peaceful solution.
In other news, reports indicating that dozens of people have been killed in protests across Iran, some by live ammunition, are of deep concern, the Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights said today. Now, citing Iranian media coverage since the demonstrations began last Friday, sparked by a rise in fuel prices, OHCHR spokesperson Rupert Colville said that the country's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, had acknowledged some fatalities. Take a look.
We're deeply concerned by reported violations of international norms and standards on the use of force, including the firing of live ammunition against demonstrators in Iran during the protests that began on Friday and have continued into this week. Overall, protests have reportedly been held in 40 or more towns and cities across the country, but again, details have been hard to verify because of the shutdown of the internet late on Saturday. There are increasing reports suggesting that the numbers killed are certainly in the dozens, in at least two figures, some reports even higher. So it would be very useful to have a better, clearer picture, but it's clearly very significant, very alarming situation and widespread across the country. We don't know the extent, of the killings, of the injuries, but it's clearly very serious. And taking place in many parts of the country. And that means more than as in so many of these cases, it would suggest that it's not simply the immediate trigger to the protests, which was a rise in fuel prices, but something much deeper seated problems in the country.
In an appeal to security officials to avoid using force, Colville called on the authorities to issue clear instructions that they should abide by international norms and standards. He also said firearms should only be used in cases of an imminent threat to life or of serious injury, and only when less extreme measures are insufficient to address such a threat when dispersing peaceful assemblies. Protesters should, for their part, carry out demonstrations without resorting to physical violence or the destruction of property, he insisted, while also calling on the government to re-establish access to the internet immediately, as well as other forms of communication. In response to the violence, the authorities say they have arrested more than 200 people, and the internet outage has stemmed the flow of videos shared on social media of protests or associated acts of violence.
Iranians have defeated the enemy's conspiracy and were celebrating their victory, President Hassan Rouhani said Wednesday after deadly nationwide protests against a petrol price hike. Demonstrations broke out in the Islamic Republic on Friday after it was announced the price of petrol would be immediately raised by as much as 200%. Our people have been victorious against the enemy's conspiracy, Rouhani said in a remarks at a meeting of his cabinet aired on state television. A protest began with motorists blocking major roads in the capital Tehran and elsewhere. They spread rapidly to at least 40 cities and towns with petrol pumps torched, police stations attacked, and shops looted.
A protester was killed and several others wounded in clashes Tuesday with Bolivian troops lifting an opposition blockade of fuel supplies to La Paz, according to the Public Ombudsman's Office report. Troops and police had moved to lift the siege on a fuel plant in El Alto by supporters of ex-President Evo Morales that has caused acute shortages in nearby La Paz. A spokesman for the Ombudsman's Office said the 31-year-old man was hit by gunfire during the clashes in El Alto. The death brings to 25 the number of people killed since the unrest began in the wake of October 20 elections, according to a tally by the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights. A convoy of around 50 fuel tankers was able to leave the Sencata plant in El Alto for the first time in more than a week, after police and military forces using armored vehicles secured the route to neighboring La Paz. The convoy included gasoline, diesel, and liquefied petroleum gas tankers.
Chile's police said Tuesday they had suspended the use of birdshot during street protests amid an outcry over eye injuries suffered by more than 200 demonstrators. The decision was announced by the head of the Carabinero police, Mario Rosa, after a month of protests over the socio-economic inequality and other problems. Police say the birdshot pellets are made of rubber, but some studies say they also contain metal. Protesters who have been injured in the eye have become a symbol of the demonstrations. Long seen as a haven of political and economic stability in volatile South America, the wave of unrest has killed 22 people. Most died in fires during looting, but 5 were killed at the hands of the security forces. More than 2,000 people were wounded. The demonstrations reached their one-month mark Monday. They have included near daily street protests that began with high school students refusing to pay a subway ticket hike, but have since mushroomed into the deepest social crisis in the South American country since the return of democracy in 1990.
Meanwhile, the United Nations is urging governments around the world to respond to protests through dialogue and reconciliation. Take a look.
To governor. On the current wave of protests around the world, he said that while each is unique, they have shared common features, a deficit of trust between people and political institutions, as well as deepening inequalities. The Secretary General urges government to respond to these protests with respect for freedom of expression and peaceful assembly, and to address people's grievances through dialogue and reconciliation to counter deep polarization.
And the news continues here on Eagle News. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
November 23, we are opening our doors to you for the ultimate EDC experience. Enjoy performances from your favorite OPM artists and meet our talented reporters, hosts, and DJs too. Experience hosting, reporting, camera handling, and more in our interactive booths. Visit exhibits of various products, innovative business solutions, and even job openings featured in our trade fair. For small and medium enterprises, learn tips and tricks at the Business Forum on entrepreneurship and technology. Also avail of fast and hassle-free services from our government agency partners such as the PSA, SSS, Pag-ibig, PhilHealth, and more. Admission is free, so bring the whole family, learn, dine, and experience the EBC Open House and Trade Fair. EBC Open House and Trade Fair is sponsored by LBC Express Incorporated, Becky's Ice Dream, Royal Care Marketing Services, Ayala Land International Sales Incorporated, Nature Spring, Just Payroll, Andox Lechon Manok, Tempra by Taisho Pharmaceuticals Philippines Incorporated, Go Hotels, Manila Airport Road, North EDSA, Cubao Ermita and Timog, Micaela, bags, shoes, wallet, and umbrella. Style meets versatility. And PLDT Enterprise.
Tungkulin ng MTRCB ang mag-provide na appropriate ratings sa lahat ng TV shows. Para ugaliin ng pamilya ang responsableng panonood. Teamwork tayo, parents!
Rated G, good for all.
A U.S. Army officer and key impeachment witness saw his loyalty called into question by Republicans on Tuesday as he testified that President Donald Trump made inappropriate demands on his Ukrainian counterpart for dirt on rival Democrats. Straining to fight back on abuse of power allegations against Trump, Republicans in Congress took aim at Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman, a respected member of the White House National Security Council, suggesting the Kyiv-born immigrant's allegiance is not to the United States, and so his testimony is dubious.
Chairman, without hesitation, I knew that I had to report this to the White House counsel. I had concerns, and it was my duty to report my concerns to the proper people in the chain of command. It was improper for the president to request to demand an investigation into a political opponent, especially a foreign power where there's at best dubious belief that this would be a completely impartial investigation.
As I testified then, I found the July 25th phone call unusual because, in contrast to other presidential calls I had observed, it involved discussion of what appeared to be a domestic political matter.
Mr. Vindman, you testified in your deposition that you did not know the whistleblower.
Ranking member, it's Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, please.
Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, you testified in the deposition that you did not know who the whistleblower was.
I do not know who the whistleblower is. That is
How is it possible for you to name these people and then out the whistleblower?
Per the advice of my counsel, I've been advised not to answer specific questions about members of the intelligence community.
Well, this is, I mean, you can plead the fifth, but you're here to answer questions and you're here under subpoena. So you can either answer the question or you can plead the fifth.
Excuse me. On behalf of my client, we are following the rule of the committee, the rule of the chair with regard to this issue. And
whistleblower has the right, statutory right to anonymity. These proceedings will not be used to out the whistleblower.
On the impeachment of the president for bribery, and they're going to send a report to the Judiciary Committee, and because there's more Democrats than Republicans, it's going to likely pass. And when that happens, the American people need to be clear that when the Democrats, what they are describing as bribery, not a single witness is describing as bribery. Look, it's bad enough that the Democrats have forbidden White House lawyers from participating in this proceeding. It's hard enough to defend yourself without your lawyers present. But what's even worse is trying to defend yourself against an accusation that keeps changing in the middle of the proceeding. If Democrats accuse the president of a high crime or impeachable offense, he at least ought to know which one it is. And when Speaker Pelosi says this is all about bribery, she's promised us evidence of bribery that would be compelling and overwhelming, and instead, it's invisible. I yield back.
I wanted to just make one point clear for folks that are watching the hearing today. Bribery does involve a quid pro quo. Bribery involves the conditioning of an official act for something of value. An official act may be a White House meeting. An official act may be $400 million in military aid. And something of value to a president might include investigations of their political rival. The reason we don't ask witnesses that are fact witnesses to make the judgment about whether a crime or bribery has been committed, or whether, more significantly, what the founders had in mind when they itemized bribery or other high crimes and misdemeanors, is your fact witnesses. It will be our job to decide whether the impeachable act of bribery has occurred. That's why we don't ask you those questions.
Much has been talked about, as we've discussed, between the President Trump and President Zelensky and the word favor, and this being interpreted as a basis for impeachment. And your interpretation of the word favor, and I'll paraphrase you, and you feel free to correct me, you said, in the military culture, which you and I are both familiar with, when a superior officer asks for a favor of a subordinate, they will interpret that as a demand. Is that a fair synopsis of what you previously stated?
Representative, when a superior makes a request, that's an order.
Okay. In short, then, you think your interpretation of a favor as a demand is based on your military experience and the military culture?
I think that is correct.
I think that is correct. Is President Trump a member of the military?
He is not.
Has he ever served in the military?
Not that I'm aware of.
Is President Zelensky a member of the military?
I don't believe so. I don't know.
He's not. Would it be fair, then, to take a person who has never served in the military and to take your reevaluation of their words based on your military experience and your military culture, and to attach that culture and that meaning of those words to someone who has never served?
Representative, I made that judgment. I stick by that judgment.
Okay, well, I got to tell you, I think it's nonsense. Look, I was in the military. I could distinguish between a favor and an order and a demand, and so could my subordinates. And I think President Zelensky did as well. He never initiated an investigation. In fact, he's been very clear. He said, I never felt any pressure at all. So you interpreted the word favor, but the two people who were speaking to each other did not interpret that as a demand. It was your interpretation. Is that fair?
The context of this call, consistent with the July 10th meeting, with the reporting that was going on, including the President's personal attorney, made it clear that this was not simply a request.
Well, that's not true at all. It's not clear at all. You say it makes it clear. It's not.
Going now to the UK, Boris Johnson and Jeremy Corbyn faced off in the first televised debate of the 2019 UK general election, with Brexit, the economy, among the issues facing the party leaders. The primetime event, held in Manchester and broadcast on ITV, presented an opportunity for a potentially game-changing moment in an election campaign so far characterized as lackluster. But neither candidate appeared to land a knockout blow in the first of several planned televised debates, some also involving other smaller parties' leaders ahead of the December 12 poll. Let's listen in.
What is the alternative? It's under Jeremy Corbyn and the Labour Party to consecrate next year to a 3-month extension in which he would, Mr. Corbyn proposes to negotiate a new treaty and then to put that to the people in a referendum. But we don't know, and I've asked this before, we don't know on which side Mr. Corbyn would campaign. Is he going to campaign for leave or remain?
We will negotiate an agreement and we will put that alongside remain in a referendum. And our government will abide by that result. A document here of US-UK negotiations, summary of specific negotiating objectives, full market access for US products to our National Health Service. You're going to sell our National Health Service out to the United States and Big Pharma.
This is an absolute invention. It is completely untrue. There are no circumstances whatever in which this government or any Conservative government will put the NHS on the table in any trade negotiation. Our NHS will never be for sale.
At the last election, we were told by your predecessor, Mr. Johnson, that there was no magic money tree. Have you found a magic money tree, Mr. Johnson? And have you found perhaps more than one of them, Mr. Corbyn?
No, we're operating in money forest. He's got. We're operating within strict fiscal discipline, and yes, of course, we're investing now in the NHS, and we're investing in our policing and investing in education because we have the fiscal headroom to do so.
I think the first thing has to be an increase in wages by having a £10 an hour living wage for all people, an end to zero hours contracts, and an investment strategy across the country that does give us an increase in manufacturing jobs all across Britain, which we're not having at the present time. I think this election is a turning point in the way in which we're going to manage our economy in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Corbyn.
This is a once-in-a-generation election to end privatisation and give the National Health Service the funding it needs, to give people the final say and get Brexit sorted, to tackle the climate emergency that threatens our futures, to invest in good jobs in every region and nation of our country. I ask that you vote for hope and vote for Labour on the 12th of December.
Mr. Corbyn, you've heard tonight, cannot answer the fundamental question. Is he for remain or leave, and what price would he pay to secure Nicola Sturgeon's support to enter number 10? And if he can't answer those questions tonight, I don't think he's fit to lead our country.
President Rodrigo Duterte admitted on Tuesday that he cannot fully trust Vice President Maria Leonora or Leni Robredo because he does not know her well since she belongs to the opposition. The president made a statement as he justified his decision to drop his initial plan to appoint Robredo as a cabinet member, serving as co-chairperson of the Interagency Committee on Anti-Drugs.
Ang problema kasi dito, ganito, I cannot trust her. Not only because she is with the opposition. I do not trust her because I do not know her. So nung sige siya nagsalita, sabi ko, I will just forego with the appointment of appointing her as a cabinet member. You know what? She's with the opposition. And she would be attending cabinet meetings. In that cabinet meetings, we discuss mundane matters, we discuss day-to-day matters, we discuss security matters, we discuss critical issues. Ngayon siya kung nandyan, hindi ko man talaga siya kilala. And the way she behaved right after I appointed her does not inspire. It's not inspiring. Natakot tuloy ako. Baka pakitaan niya. Kasi she was questioning noon. Yung judicial, gano'n na. Kasali na ang politika. You know, I'll tell you what.
Robredo will lead ICAD along with Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency PDEA Director General Aaron Aquino until June 30, 2022, according to the October 31 memorandum signed by President Duterte. The memorandum also directs the PDEA, the Philippine National Police and Dangerous Drugs Board, and all other law enforcement agencies to extend their full assistance and cooperation to Robredo to ensure the success of the administration's fight against illegal drugs. Duterte was prompted to name Robredo as ICAD co-chair after the latter claimed that the government's anti-drug campaign is obviously not working. The president earlier announced that Robredo will hold a cabinet rank, but later on retracted his pronouncement.
Deforestation in the Amazon rainforest in northern Brazil surged to nearly 10,000 square kilometers in the year to July 2019. That's the highest in more than a decade, according to officials. The 29.5% increase from the previous 12-month period comes after fires ravaged swaths of the Amazon this year, igniting a global outcry and diplomatic feud between President Jair Bolsonaro and European leaders. Satellite data collected by the National Institute for Space Research, or INPE, show 9,762 square kilometers were cleared of trees, according to officials. That is the highest since the same period in 2008. Para was the hardest hit of the 9 states that make up the Amazon in Brazil, with nearly 4,000 square kilometers deforested. Previous data showed clearing in the Amazon nearly doubled in the first 8 months of this year, compared with the same period in 2018 to 6,404 square kilometers. Greenpeace blamed the dismantling of environmental protections under Bolsonaro for the sharp increase in deforestation. Pro-business, Bolsonaro took power in January on a promise to open up more of the Amazon to loggers, miners, and farmers. Faced with criticism over the fires and tree clearing, Bolsonaro accused non-government organizations of starting the blazes and France and others of threatening Brazil's sovereignty over the rainforest.
Lightning illuminated Honolulu's skies as a weather system brought some severe weather to the islands. Take a look. Eagle News International will be right back. Stay tuned.
Mga kababayan, lalo na sa mga OFWs sa Middle East at North Africa, may good news kami para sa inyo. Mapapanood na ninyo ang Net25 at iba pang Filipino channels na hatid ng OSN sa presyong abot kaya. Libre na ang box at installation, walang admin fees at no extra charges. Saktong entertainment na sakto lang sa budget mo. Bumisita na sa pinakamalapit na OSN store o dealer. And subscribe now! Net25 at OSN, siguradong at home ka dito.
The Philippine peso stayed firm against the greenback Wednesday, while the stock exchange index reversed to losses a day after recovery. The local currency finished the day at 50.87 from 50.9 finish a day ago, which a trader pointed to risk-off sentiment given trade-related concerns abroad. It opened the day weak at 50.97 from 50.79 Tuesday. It traded between 50.87 and 51.025, resulting in an average of 50.959. Volume reached $947.5 million, lower than the $959.75 million a day ago. The currency pair is seen to trade between 50.90 and 51.10 on Thursday. On the other hand, the main equities index shed 0.18% or 14.08 points to 7,898.06 points. Regina Capital Managing Director Luis Limlingan attributed the day's decline to concerns on the US-China trade talks.
President Donald Trump on Tuesday warned that failure to get a trade deal with China will prompt more tariffs.
I have a good relationship with China. We'll see what happens. But I'm very happy right now. And if we don't make a deal with China, I'll just raise the tariffs even higher. Thank you very much.
Trump's latest tough comment came as the markets are watching intensely for signs of progress in the two economic superpowers' attempt to reach a so-called Phase 1 partial deal, taking the heat out of a growing trade war.
Focusing now on sports, here's Ben Bernaldez.
Morris Grudges on Tuesday formally sealed an agreement with the Philippine Southeast Asian Games Organizing Committee, or PHISGOC, to become the primary transportation means for the upcoming SEA Games. Representatives from MG and PHISGOC signed the Memorandum of Agreement on Tuesday at Enderun College in Taguig City that effectively makes MG the meet's official mobility partner.
Aside from providing the official mobility for the Southeast Asian Games, we will be providing about 85 vehicles to be used by the organizing committee, and they will be distributing that nationwide. And of course, we also have a sponsorship for the preparation of the Games. We're very honored that we were recognized to be a brand that really participates in sports. This is a program that MG as a brand is very into globally. So our partners, our principals at SAIC, and of course our partners now with MediaPro has decided to participate in the Southeast Asian Games. MG is a growing brand in Southeast Asia. We are in Thailand, in Indonesia, and soon in other Southeast Asian countries. So this is a very good platform for MG to be recognized globally and in Southeast Asia.
We've been working with the SEA Games since early this year, and it's extremely proud of to have a cool brand like MG coming on board. They've been good partners to work with, excellent, and looking at all the new models when we were looking at it, we needed an international brand like MG, and Attorney Albert viewed sports as one of something important for the Philippines, and a brand that could reach the new millennial for the Philippines.
A total of 80 special edition MG vehicles will be deployed to all the playing venues of the SEA Games, spread across various locations in Luzon.
Again, I can't stress my gratitude to MG, because through the partnership, they will help make this happen for us. having, everyone move around comfortably. With that said, on behalf of our chairman, Speaker Alcalde, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you very much, MG. Thank you very much to the media. It's really very much appreciated. And we hope that we'll be able to partner more in the future.
Happening on November 30 to December 11, the 2019 SEA Games will gather nearly 10,000 athletes from 11 nations who will participate in 530 events in 56 sports. As a sports event carries the theme "We Win as One," Filipino athletes will try their best to raise the Philippine flag high, and Blackwater will be backing some of them in the pursuit.
Well, as you know, I've been a sports lover, and we've been supporting the Gilas women's team for the longest time. And late last year, I saw the need to help some prospective individual sports. That's why we got Jasmine early this year to help her on her swimming campaign. So we have sent her to Europe and to US for her trainings and also some competitions in China. And then latter part of last quarter, we saw these two young guys in wakeboarding and skateboarding, which has tremendous potential. So we decided to help them as well, to inspire them and also to help them on this campaign to gain more golds for our SEA Games tournament.
The well-known perfume line has handpicked their beneficiaries, and all of them were introduced during a press conference at Sulu Riviera Hotel in Quezon City. One of the said athletes is Jasmine Pilar Alcalde, a 25-year-old swimmer who has represented the Philippines at the London 2012 and Rio de Janeiro 2016 Olympics. A member of the Philippine national team since 2009, Alcalde has won 12 SEA Games medals, 2 bronze medals in 2013, 6 bronze in 2015, and 4 bronze in 2017.
Of course, I personally want to bring home as many medals as I can, but at the end of the day, I feel like all I can do is really trust God and trust my training and just focus on what I have to do and just go for it. And I'm just praying that the outcome is what we all want, but I'm just very blessed and happy and very honored that I get to do what I do, regardless of, all the obstacles. I will be competing in a few weeks with the Philippine flag on my head, and I think on my suit, I'm not sure, but on my jacket for sure. And to just being able to go out there with all that, it's very exciting and humbling and such an honor talaga.
Another is 18-year-old wakeboarder Rafael Trinidad from Calamba, Laguna. The young athlete started wakeboarding at the age of 12. A few years later, he became the national champion during the 9th Philippine Cable Wakeboarding Championship in 2015. Since then, he has participated in several local and international competitions such as the IWWF Cable Wakeboard World Championship in Buenos Aires, Argentina, where he won a silver medal in the pro men division.
Boarding is such a new sport here, and I really believe that the team has what it takes to get the gold for sure. Because we've been working for the past few months just to get here and stay in our best shape to perform well in the SEA Games.
That you have gotten the support that you need, you've been focusing on training. We also want to get the expectations that gold. What are the chances of that?
Gold for SEA Games in wakeboarding is really high, because we've been training all year, and then with the help of the Blackwater family, it really inspired us and motivated us to push ourselves even more to represent the country well during the Southeast Asian Games.
Moreover, Jaime Delange will be representing the Philippines at the downhill skateboard event. With over 8 years of experience in the Philippine downhill scene, Delange has ranked several recognition in the country and abroad. He has attended several skateboarding events all over the world, like in the US, Spain, Australia, New Zealand, South Korea, and Japan. Not only a racer, but also an organizer and coach. For the last 4 years, he has ranked number 1 in the Philippines and has been highest ranked racer in Asia.
Yes, there's definitely some confidence there in the Philippines because we've always been a talented bunch of skaters. I'm really proud to say that the Philippines has been dominant in Asia for the past 5-6 years. We've been leaders in the sport. But of course, with the opportunity to get a gold comes a fair amount of pressure. But to be honest, I've seen the team handle it very well because the confidence carries over and they're putting in the work. There will be no excuses when the time comes. No, we haven't really. Of course, you always wish there was more, hoping for more government support and stuff like that. Thankfully, we have people like Boss Dio, proper patriots, nationalists that actually believe in us. And we feel really blessed to have different kinds of support coming from all over.
Lastly, the women of Gilas Pilipinas will send Filipino basketball fans into frenzy as they go against their toughest competitors in the region. With head coach Patrick Henry Aquino, the team is made up of 16 skilled and strong-willed players who have competed in different countries, including Singapore, Malaysia, India, Taiwan, Mongolia, and New Zealand. Gilas Pilipinas is currently ranked number 7 in the FIBA Asia-Oceania zone. The current roster includes Jack Daniel Animam, Afril Bernardino, Gemma Miranda, Eunice Chan, Danica Therese Jose, Mary April Penaranda, Ria Joy Nabalan, Anya Alicia Katrina Castillo, Camille Claro, Maria Beatriz Daes, Maris Andrea Tonco, France Mekabinbin, Janine Pontejos, Claire Castro, Kelly Hayes, and Christina Dikin. And these are the stories for EN Sports. I'm Ben Bernaldez, and I'm on with 25.
Orlando Magic defeat Washington Wizards 125-121. Here's Melissa Potes for the report.
Coming off a 40-point game, Bradley Beal and the Washington Wizards hope to secure a win against the Orlando Magic, while the Magic look to extend their win streak to 3 after defeating the Spurs and the 76ers. In this high-scoring affair, the Magic sealed the win 125-121 with a game-saving steal by Markelle Fultz late in the fourth quarter. The Magic were efficient, shooting 49.4% while receiving normal contributions from Nikola Vucevic with 30 points and 17 rebounds, and Evan Fournier's 25 points. Fultz continued to find his rhythm within the starting lineup as he scored a career-high 19 points.
When I make a shot, it just opens up everything else. I'm already, I feel like I got enough confidence and enough game to get to the paint whenever I want. And if I'm hitting, it's going to be a tough night.
Despite overall good defense by the Magic, the Wizards, led by Beal's 34 points, made a strong push to take the lead near the end of regulation.
The Brad Beal shot making in the fourth quarter was why people come to pay money to watch great players play. Because I thought our defense, without watching the film, was actually not bad. And he just made a bunch of shots that a great shot maker makes.
In the fourth quarter, with the Wizards mounting a comeback and the score 119-116, Fultz made a huge steal, driving in for the slam and one.
One of the tops, anytime I get a chance to make a big-time play, and especially in a clutch moment, it was up there for one of the tops.
He did what he was supposed to do, then made a terrific play, and then obviously a great finish and a free throw.
With this win, the Magic improved to 4-1 at home. However, they have not found any success away from home. Their next 4 games will be on the road, beginning with a matchup against reigning NBA champs, the Toronto Raptors.
To get those wins against good quality teams, it feels good. We just got to take that momentum and get one on the road. I think we haven't won one on the road, so hopefully we start something going.
Reporting to you from Amway Center in Orlando, Florida, I'm Melissa Potes, always one with 25.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you, Melissa. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Tumblr. Also check out our boards and Pinterest and pictures on Instagram. I'm Sam Zepeda. Thanks for joining us.
And that's the news for tonight. Join us online and here again tomorrow evening from all of us here at Eagle News. I'm Alma Angeles and we're one with 25.
On November 23, we are opening our doors to you for the ultimate EBC experience. Enjoy performances from your favorite OPM artists and meet our talented reporters, hosts, and DJs too. Experience hosting, reporting, camera handling, and more in our interactive booths. Visit exhibits of various products, innovative business solutions, and even job openings featured in our trade fair. For small and medium enterprises, learn tips and tricks at the Business Forum on entrepreneurship and technology. Also avail of fast and hassle-free services from our government agency partners such as the PSA, SSS, Pag-ibig, PhilHealth, and more. Admission is free, so bring the whole family, learn, dine, and experience the EBC Open House and Trade Fair.
This is one of the few films na, even if I had to go to the bathroom, hindi ako makatayo talaga kasi talagang na-engage ako. This is storytelling at its best.
Ganda-ganda ng pelikula, drama and comedy. For sure, makakapulot po kayo ng magandang aral at dun sa mga nakakaranas ng depression. Ito yung pelikula na mag-aano sa atin para hindi ma-depress sa buhay. Action ko, ang ganda ng pelikula. Kompleto siya. Basang-basa yung panyo ko, kakayak. At saka papatawanin, ang galing ng bata. Yung mga kulturang nakakalimutan na natin na pwede ibalik dito.
Na-break niya yung superstar system dito sa movie na pwede rin gumawa ng isang magandang pelikula without any main stars.
Napakaganda ng pelikula, napakagaling ng director at ng cast. Napanood ko yung part 1, mas maganda pa rin tong part 2 at nag-step up.
Kaya mga kababayan, hindi kaya ko kayong panoodin nyo ang Guerrero 2. Yes, I highly recommend po yung pelikula. Panoorin nyo po.
Kailangan mapanood talaga ng mas nakakarami pang mga Pilipino.
Hello everyone, inibitahan ko na kayo manood ng Guerrero 2, Tuloy ang Laban.
Guerrero 2, Tuloy ang Laban.
Guerrero 2, Tuloy ang Laban.
Guerrero 2.
Guerrero 2. Guerrero 2. Guerrero 2.
Tuloy ang laban. Tuloy ang laban.
Tuloy pa rin ang laban.
Tuloy ang laban. Guerrero 2, Tuloy ang laban. Guerrero, a surname of Spanish origin meaning warrior. Tayo mga Guerrero ay mandirigma, matatapang, hindi po iyakin. Guerrero! Guerrero! Dapat palagi yung pinakausap yung kuya mo, ha? Ano din naman, kung di tulog na tulog, ha?
Magising na ka.
Yay! Alam mo, kuya, hindi ko rin nakala magiging masaya ako dito sa ospital. Halos lahat ng tao dito, naging kaibigan ko na. Haba pang araw. Uy! Maliban nandun sa sa isang matanda na yon.
Gusto mo ibuhos ko sa iyo to?
Kalma.
Mas maganda po kung maipapasel siya sa labas para...
Siyempre sa labas. Alam nga naman, ipasyal mo yan dito sa loob ng kwarto.
Ano kaya dapat gawin doon? Huwag ko na lang pansinin. Bakit po sungit-sungit nyo, ha? Pwede naman tayo maging masaya. Kahit di pa nangyayari yung gusto natin. Laban po tayo, ha? Tuloy ang laban. Hindi po ko titigil hanggang hindi ko pa nakukuha yung gusto ko. Pero hindi rin po ko titigil sa pagpapahalaga sa kung ano meron ako.
Miguel, yung kuya mo.
Lagi ko sinasabi, Guerrero tayo, Guerrero tayo.
Kaya ng Diyos lahat ng bagay. Kung gusto niyong pagalingin lahat ng may sakit dito, kaya niyang gawin niyo.
Bakit kailangan pang lumubog ang araw?
Kahit kailan, hindi pa lumabog ang araw. Ang mundo po ang tumatalikod sa araw, kaya po dumidilim.
Walang Superman, tandaan mo. Ang totoong meron, Guerrero, ikaw yun.
Pero Guerrero kami, tuloy ang laban.
Ngunit ikaw ang kanluran, sana'y damayan. Ako'y sa'yo pa rin, magpakailanman.